Hi, this is the Getting Started with the Zoom simulation for MBA 512. If I look under announcements, I see that we have a Zoom simulation and we have a schedule. And this looks like we're going to process one round every couple of days here. It looks like 2 rounds a week. And we have a round that's going to be processed on the 6th, I'm sorry, 7th of January, 9th, 14th, 16th, 21st, and 23rd. So we're doing 6 rounds. So I'm going to go into assignments to get more detail on this assignment. And the Zoom simulation is worth 20 points, and students may form teams of 1, 2, or 3, depending on how you prefer to work. You can work by yourself or with others. It's up to you. This is the website to register for the simulation and the class code. Now, here's a note, don't pay twice. If you've already used the Zoom simulation in the previous semester, they can reset your account for free. Wouldn't want you to pay twice. Here's also the schedule again of when your due dates of each round are and how it's graded. So the simulation grades you in a total of overview points. So I have a scale based on how well you do. So if you do very well, you earn the full 20 points. If you do very poorly, you're only going to earn 5 points at the maximum. Okay, so that is so let's go to the website. This is the Zoom simulation website. So we would want to click on student registration for a new student, and we would put in your name. There we go. Email address. You want to create a username and password, and then of course some security. Make sure you're not a bot here. I would suggest reading the terms and conditions, and then click continue. We don't have activation keys for this class because in order to use the activation key, I have to assign you a $200 Wiley textbook, and that comes with the activation key. So since our textbook are not from Wiley and not nearly as expensive, you're going to use a credit card to pay. So you click on pay credit card, you fill out this information, submit payment, and then you will be into step 3. So I'm not going to put my credit card information because I already created a student account. So I'm going to log in with it, and now try it again. Log in. Okay, so this is step 3. So once you register as a student and you make the credit card payment, step 3 is the class selection. So class code, that sounds familiar. Oh yeah, it was right here, class code, 512 WIN. So I'm going to put that in as my class code, 512 WIN. And I'm going to hit submit class code. And now I am in the class. So there are 2 modalities. There's play practice rounds or classroom competition. For the classroom competition, when I join that, I'm going to have to create a new company. Because if you are going to be in a team of 1, you need to create a new company. If you're in a team of 2, the first person who logs in is going to create their new company, and then the second person who logs in will see the company created, and you could just join it easily. Go Zoom Cards. That's the name of my company, and I am the president. And so for each person on your team, put my email address in there, and then I'm just going to say save the company data. You can always go back and change your name, but if there are 2 people in a team, you would just fill in a separate role. It doesn't really matter what role they're on. Now, what's important is that you download and read the student user guide. So the student user guide is a PDF that explains all about the simulation. And this is a must. If you're going to work with this simulation, you need to download this and read the user guide so you understand how the simulation works, all the functionality of it, and the purpose of the simulation. And they give you a nice background of what the simulation is about here, so you might want to read that. If at any time during the first round, if you're in the wrong team, you can actually choose a different team or get out of the team you created, I guess by clicking this choose new team button. Okay, so we're going to go into, so the first thing to do in round one is you have to create your sales, or your sales department here. You are you're starting out as an automobile company, and you're going to be competing against other companies in the automobile industry, and you have to design your automobiles. The student user guide explains this better than I do, so I'm going to go back in and log in again to show you where you can practice as a student. So, because the team competition is where we're going to be playing our 6 rounds, and the team competition, basically each student team completes their submission, which I'm going to show you an example of how to do it. And then when everyone's complete, I manually move the process on the due date next to the next round. So you can't do this all in one day. You have to wait for everybody to be with you before you can move to the next round in the team competition area. Now, in the individual practice is different because you're self-paced working against computers and computer opponents. It's the same exact simulation, except this is an area where you can practice. So if you're worried about how you're going to do in the team competition, you could run all 6 rounds in the practice, get an idea of where you're scoring at. So that way your grade won't be a complete mystery. Because I found that generally most people either improve their scores from the practice to the competition round. So whatever you get in the practice round, generally you're going to get at least that many points or more in the team competition rounds. Okay, so I'm in the practice, and basically I'm going to decide for economy class vehicle, I need to decide, here's what my customers are expecting over here. This is what my customers expect. This is how important it is to their buying criteria. So I'm going to build a car, and let's see, well, fuel economy is important, so maybe I give them good fuel economy. Engine power is not so important, so I'll make that less. And I'll just go in here. So we have engine power, fuel economy, engine power, safety features, number of luxury features, months of reliability, such as a warranty. My labor cost is $3,000, my material cost is $8,000, for a total build cost of $11,000. So I'm going to put a price on the car, and I'm going to need a 43% profit margin. I'll put a sales forecast in here, and then you'll say, well, how did you come up with the sales forecast? Well, let's see. The student user guide, yay! So here they tell me that the economy growth factor for the economy class car is 25% per year, and they give me a chart here, and they explain that if everybody built the same exact car, made the same exact advertisement, this is probably how many you would sell. So year 0 is 1750. Here's that 1750. That was last year's sales, or is year 0. So year 1, they expect that my car could sell 2,188 units if I'm equal to everybody else. I feel that my car is not as good, so I'm going to put 2,000. I'm going to go under the suggested forecast. So there's a quick way to get an idea of how to forecast. You read the student user guide, and it tells you the growth rate for every year. So next year, the economy class will grow by 25%. So we go from 2,100 to 27 to 34 to 42 to 53, and by the end of the simulation, if you're building cars equal to everybody else, you should sell about 6,600 cars. And each class has a different growth rate and a different suggested forecast. So this forecast is not a guarantee of what you're going to sell, and it's just an idea where to start from. So if you feel your car is better, forecast more. If you feel your car is coming under and not as good as the competition, then forecast less. So no one in the real world can tell you exactly what you're going to sell, and they can't tell you in the simulation exactly what you're going to sell. So you're going to have to do an educated guess on the forecast, and that's how industry works. Okay, so I'm going to continue here by designing. I have cars in 4 classes: so economy, sedan, truck. You notice that I can go below the customer's expectations or above it. I can't create a car with engine power of 5 because I'll get an error because no car could run like that. So, but I'm free to have a variance of above and below or inside the customer expectation range. It's just depending on how I want to build the car, what my strategy is. Am I a low-cost provider? Am I focused on high quality? These are all kind of different things you worry about. So here I'm just going to continue building my cars. Just putting numbers in to make this go fast. And my forecast. Okay, so now I've completed all the build of all my cars. This is what, you remember, every year a new car comes out. So this is the Honda 2012, the Honda 2013, the Honda 2014. So every year, car companies tweak and adjust their vehicle profile based on customers' expectations, and that's what we're doing here. We're building the next year's car. So we're basically research development. We're putting together a car, and we're focusing on the profit margins. So I know that this game starts off at 40% profit margins. So as a company, I always need to beat or meet last year's profit margins, or my stock price will collapse. So here, each of my profit margins, this one comes below. So I got to improve this profit margin. 29% would devastate my stock price. So I'm going to move up my price of this car, and there we go. I get a better, since my price is higher, maybe I should lower my forecast because my cars will not be as attractive now. This one seems fine. So I also require that you fill out these reflective observations. So these reflective observations are going to ask you about what you're doing, what your strategy is, and just a couple quick sentences to give me an idea of what you're doing and what your thought process is. Okay, so I'm done with the sales page. I'm going to move over to marketing. So in the marketing page here, for each vehicle class, I have to decide a target demographic. And so I can put in a range or just one number, or I could just really put in anything I like here. And this is supposed to tie to who you're going to advertise your car to. And then the expected income that you think that these people are going to have. And this, as far as I can tell, this is not going to actually affect your sales. This is just to give me an idea of who you're building cars for, which is going to come into play in a minute. Now, this is important, the advertising investment. So here I have a range. This is the expected range of the industry, what people are going to spend. So for the economy class vehicle, the expected advertising cost per company is $500,000 to $1 million. So, well, how do I know where to advertise? Oh, Professor Nugent mentioned the student user guide. Maybe I should check that. Oh, good idea. So in the student user guide, they give me the percentage of effectiveness for each of the media outlets. So it looks like newspapers and television are the most effective for economy class vehicle. But there are other venues like internet, direct mail, radio, and that makes up 100% of how people become aware of your car and then decide to buy it. So I don't enter percentages in here, I enter money. So if newspapers and television are the most important, maybe I'm going to put 200,000 in each of those categories. Now since I can spend anything I want, but I don't want to overspend and I don't want to underspend. And I don't want to leave any category empty, because if someone else comes along and decides to spend money in this category and nobody else did, they'll pick up all the customers. So for each of these areas, you have to come up with a strategy of how you want to put your advertising together. And this is going to affect, of course, the better you spread your money around, the more smart you are about it, the better strategy you have, the more cars you're going to sell. Now, if you advertise too heavily, you're going to build up demand for your car, but you may wipe out all your profits from advertising. I'll never forget the MBA student said to me, I put a hypothetical situation as you own an individual Subway franchise, and how are you going to advertise this franchise? And he said, I'm going to buy a $1 million ad in the Super Bowl. I said, do you realize your profit for the year is about $75,000 and you're going to spend $1 million on a national ad? Wouldn't it be better maybe to spend less than your profits in the local region? And then he kind of got the idea. So this is the whole point of the simulation, is that advertising is connected to sales, it's connected to finance, it's connected to profits. So the whole company is connected together. And you also have to fill out these reflective observations here about what is your slogan. So you get to be a little creative, make a slogan for each car. Think about your demographic you want to sell to and what strategies you're using when you're developing your advertising budget here. Okay, so once marketing is done, I'm going to finish and say I'm done marketing, and clicking that blue button uploads it to the database. Now I'm in production. So economy class, I have a production, let's see. I said I'm going to build 2,000 cars. I have 100 cars in inventory, so I need to produce 1,900 vehicles. I only have one production plant that can make 1,000 vehicles. So I need to buy a new production plant. So I'm going to buy one new production plant, and that's going to increase my capacity to 2,000 cars. So I can actually make the 1,900 cars. Here I'm forecasting 2,800 cars. I have 100 cars in inventory, so I need to make 2,700 cars. I only have one factory, so I'm going to need to buy 2 additional factories. So I have a capacity of 3,000, so I can make the 2,700 cars. Here again, I just have to buy one production plant, so I can make the cars I'm forecasting, and another production plant to make the cars I'm forecasting. Okay, so my forecasts are done. And now here is operational investments. New technologies, robotics, equipment enhancements, software investments. This is an area where I get to invest in my company. So by buying a level of investments, and I can go all the way up to level 10, but I can't buy everything at once because they're very expensive. But for every level I buy, I get a cost reduction on the manufacturing of my car next round. Because think about it. You buy new technologies, new robotics. You look at that Tesla plant. They have like 2 employees, and it's all run automatically with robotics. They, a great way to lower costs by making these investments. So if you don't make these investments in your company never evolves. And you can never make, your company can never compete on cost and profit. So this is a critical area for strategy, is that you keep reinvesting in your company by expanding your production capabilities in your plants and by investing in your company's capabilities. And then again here, a couple reflective observation questions you must fill out, and I'm going to submit the production data. And here we come to the last area, which is finance. So I'm going to look right at the bottom here and see that I have a $2 million surplus. So I think I'm going to borrow a little bit of money, because even though my forecasts, I'm not so sure how great my forecasts are. So I'm going to borrow some money to give me a bigger surplus. So now my surplus is 11 million. It's going to increase my interest expense, but I feel that I don't want to have a deficit. And if I don't sell every car that I forecasted to sell, I could have an unexpected deficit. So I am building a little bit of a surplus here just in case I don't sell every car I forecast, because the forecast is not a guarantee of sales. Okay. Once I am done with the finance, I'm going to submit the round. And in the individual practice, it automatically calculates for me. In the team competition, you're going to have to wait until I process the round when everybody's done, because in the team competition area, we're not competing against computer players, we're competing against each other. Fun, right? Okay, so now what happened? Overview. So this gives me an idea of how I scored. I scored 900 points. Holy cow, that's really good. I did great. And now I was just slamming those numbers in. How did I do so good? So let's look at it. I was able to increase my sales by 94%. I earned 94 points. I was able to increase my profit margins from 40 to 49%, earned a 24% increase. So the year-over-year change is a percentile, and I earned 1 point for every percent increase. For gross operational net, I earned points because I increased all my profit margins. I was able to increase my equity multiplier, my return on equity, my earnings per share, my return on assets. What are these numbers, Professor Nugent? What does this mean? I don't know what these formulas are. Well, student user guide. Oh yeah, I forgot about the student user guide. What does this do? Well, if you go in here, they're going to outline, they're going to explain and give you all the formulas somewhere in here. Let's see. I think I passed it. Okay, so here are all the ratios and the formulas and how they're calculated. So analyzing the results. So the student user guide gives you an idea of how these results are calculated and what formulas they're using. Now, if you took MBA 502 or Financial Accounting MBA 503 or 504, I'm not sure. But both of those classes, finance and financial accounting, should go over financial statements and financial ratios. That's why it's one of the requirements for the class. But these are pretty basic things. You could look them up online easily and figure them out yourself. You may already know them. Market capitalization, the total value of the company has gone up 200%. Now, it went up 200%. Why did I only earn 100 points? The maximum points you can earn is 100. So I'm not crazy about that either. I was able to increase the percentage of accuracy of my forecast. In year 0, I was only at 65% accuracy. That's why we had leftover inventory. And for this, I was accurate on two of the vehicles and not so much on two other vehicles. But I did earn points in every area, and I wound up making operational investments, and I get, for doubling my operational investments, I get 100 points. And for having a surplus, remember, my surplus was projected to be 11 million, but it was only 4 million because I didn't sell everything I promised. Here I came under forecast, so I lost some sales, but I still had a surplus, get 100 points for that. So I got a total of 900 points. So here's a reflective observation where I write up how did I do last round and what am I going to change next round moving forward. So and I can actually, there's a bunch of charts that I could look at to look at my performance and to see how I did between, this is net profits for the company, year 0, year 1. So these are the individual. And go back, let's look at the industry charts, me against the computer players, and we'll see that I had, my net profits were really high compared to the computer players, and my points were very high. I'm orange here, and here my stock price, I'm on top. Sales price, actually this computer player did better in sales than me. So let me go back to my performance. There's this chart I like down at the bottom that, here we go, market versus potential. So let's see here. I sold 2,000 cars. I could have sold, so my potential is the blue. So I could have sold 2,400 cars here, and I actually sold, exactly met my potential. Okay. All right. So here I could have sold 1,700 cars, but I only built 1,700. I could have sold 1,729. Okay, so I'm pretty close. Here I made, okay, so market potential and sales. So it gives me an idea. See, here my potential was higher and I sold less. But here I met my market potential with 2,469, but I forecasted 2,800 sedans. So those were left unsold, and that kind of affected my overall sales. So if we go in the simulation, look under production, you can see that I have 331 sedans unsold, and that's why I had that surprise deficit. Or not deficit, I had a smaller surplus than I had expected. I can also look in the industry, and I could see in the industry how everybody else, what did they do? But that doesn't seem realistic, Professor Nugent. How are you getting results and getting to see what all these other companies did? That doesn't happen in the real world. You bet your bottom it does. I can go and look at, they advertise online or go to any dealership. They'll tell you the specifics of how a company built their cars, and the specifics of, if you go to the annual report of financial statements, they'll give me the key highlights of the financial statements and financial ratios. So I absolutely in the real world can get this information. And I should use this information to say, if I wasn't the best company, who was and what did they do, and how can I kind of look at what they did and improve my performance? And then, of course, my financials are backed up, and then it starts all over again. So now I have to go into round 2. And so I suggest, if you're in the individual practice, go ahead and practice and run through a number of rounds before you start the team competition to get used to the simulation and improve your chances of getting enough points to get a full grade. And you could keep rerunning the simulation as much as you want. Once you're done, you can go ahead and restart it. You can't do that with the team competition, but here is a practice area where you can keep working with the simulation until you get to a point where you're happy with your total points, because those points will convert into a score. So now I'm just working around 2, and I'm again just throwing numbers in here. But I know the key thing I need to know is I need to keep my profit margins up. And where my profit margins aren't up, I have to make some adjustments. So here they're only 41%. But you see how I get this operational cost reduction of 600? That's because I invested in operational investments in last round. So now my actual, getting a warning message here. Trying to make this, okay, so now I got this profit margin higher. This is very low. So Just making some adjustments to get my profit margin. It's kind of hard to get that profit margin high, but once I'm done with my profit margins and I'm going to fill in my reflective observations, I move on to marketing. And let's say this round I'm going to be very cheap, and I'm not going to market too much. And this, of course, will affect my demand because I'm not marketing as much, but it also could possibly increase my profits. So I see that I have to buy some more plants because I'm having a higher forecast. So I'm here I don't, because I have these leftover vehicles, so I don't have to buy a new plant. And a quick trick is to use the number down here. So I need to build 2469 because it'll take my demand less my inventory, give the number I need down here. Okay, and 343. Okay, so I'm good. So I built my one production plan. I put my forecast in, and now I think I need to buy some more levels of operational investments. Write up my reflective observations because they change each round. Questions are same questions but different answers. Okay, so let's see where I'm at. I'm going to have a surplus of 49 million. So you know what? I'm going to pay down some debt because I have such a big surplus. I'll pay down some debt, and I'll even buy back some stock. Okay, so now I'm going to submit round 2, and let's see how I did. My overall surplus is 41 million, so I'm confident that I won't have a deficit. I'm going to work on my reflective observations, and now I'm in round 3. I'm in round 3, but here are the results for round 2. I only made 500 points, so I went down in points. So I didn't do as well. I lost some points in my my forecast here was bad on Sudan. It looks like I increased my forecast in the other area, but let's see, and I had a $30 million surplus, not a $40 million surplus. So that tells me I have leftover inventory. Yep, I have 743 vehicles I didn't sell in my economy class. So if I go down to these charts, you can see that economy, my potential was 2257, and I sold 2257, but I built 3,000 cars. So that's why I have an excess, because there wasn't enough potential in economy. However, in luxury, I sold 2,000 cars, which is exactly the number I built, but I could have sold 2,200. So I had a lot of excess demand. So this is where you kind of judge. If you see this blue bar going above your yellow bar, that means that there's more demand for your product than cars you built, and you may want to increase your forecast. Okay. So, all right. So I can go back to the industry charts again and see how I compare in the industry. And now I have 2 years in here to look at sales and points and profit. And now in this year, company 2, computer player 1 had more points than me because they did a little bit better. So you kind of go through all the charts and analyze your results. And then your industry, and see how the industry did, and then you start again in round 3. So we're going to do this 6 times. I suggest you try to play in the practice area as much as possible before you start the team competition rounds. And remember that you need to be registered for the simulation and have the first round completed by January 7th at 11 p.m. Because at that point, I will process at some point after 11 p.m. and you can't work on a second round of team competition until I'm done processing. But I will record a video to explain and then analyze how everyone did in the simulation. Okay, so there's my getting started with the Zoom simulation video. Please use this to get registered and sign up and create your team, or decide whether or not you're going to work with other students. And you can't just join a company. You have to ask, either you create your own company or you have an agreement or ask permission of another student to work with them. You can't just join someone's company because if you create your own company and you want to work by yourself and you see another student has joined in there, I will have to kick that student out of that team. So make sure that when you join your team, you have somebody else you already agreed to that's a company you're going to form together and create a team. Otherwise, you need to create a team by yourself. Okay, that's the video. Thanks for listening, and good luck getting started.